You ever hear the one about the HOA president who thought she could outsmart federal law? I'm serious. Folks joke that HOAs are just legal mafias with nicer landscaping. But let me tell you, after living through what happened at Miller's Pond, I'd say they were dead on. I'd barely unpacked my boxes, still smelling like cardboard and old tape, when I caught the president herself running. What looked an awful lot like a racket on what was supposed to be my private lake. She had no clue she was about to step on a landmine, one with the Fed's name stamped on it. Yeah, this gets federal. The morning it started, the world looked like a Bob Ross painting. Mist curling over the water, birds you only hear if you wake up early enough. That's what I'd come for. Quiet after years in. Corporate hell, a place I could just breathe. Instead, I'm standing barefoot in my own grass, watching Victoria, clipboard queen, march up with an officer in tow, calling me a trespasser on my own property. I kid you not. Officer, that man is trespassing on community property. She points at me like I wandered off from a tour bus. I just stared at my own feet, wet with dew, then looked at Officer Walsh, searching for a hint that this was some kind of prank. Officer, I'm literally standing in my own yard, I said, waving at my sad little mailbox that still had Bennett in fresh paint. The officer gave me the look cops get when they're wishing for a parking ticket instead of neighborhood drama. Victoria, though, she was ready for court. Flips open her binder. Flashes a page with enough highlighter to burn my retinas. The pond is listed as a community amenity managed by the association. Calm, smug, like she's reading out of a textbook. That voice. I'd heard it before. Back when I was an insurance adjuster and people tried to explain away things they didn't want you to notice. So, I did what I do best. Ma'am, can I see some ID and proof of your authority here? Her smile shrank about half an inch, a twitch I'd seen on fraudsters right before their stories fell apart. Walsh tried to play peacemaker, suggesting we work it out. Neighborly. But I was already headed inside, digging for my deed in a box marked important. And there it was, a line I'd skipped over before, subject to existing easements and navigation rights. Established 1891. At the closing, the attorney had called it boilerplate. Suddenly, it felt like the whole case turned on that one line. Out I went, deed in hand, ready for round two. Victoria had her covenant stack, looked like a phone book from the 90s. Your deed can say one thing, she says, but this community has managed the pond for years. Control isn't always about what's on paper. Lady, that's called a deed. It's literally the paper. This was next-level delusion. She kept pointing to HOA bylaws about community pond management, but I'd never agreed to any of this. And the previous owner hadn't mentioned shared rights. Officer Walsh looked ready to fake a call just to get out of there. I double-checked my deed. Navigation rights established 1891. Victoria said, "That's just old language, Mr. Bennett, irrelevant." But I could hear her voice crack. That irrelevant was hiding something, and my gut told me I was finally onto the truth. Google didn't give a clear answer, just a trail of old laws about public water, rights that don't just vanish because someone puts up a fence. Victoria's poker face slipped a little when she saw me. Reading. "Officer, I need to research this federal navigation issue," I said, screenshotting everything. She got testy, telling me I was making it complicated with irrelevant technicalities. But you know what? In my line of work, irrelevant technicalities always end up mattering most. After the officer left, Victoria and I just stared each other down across the property line. Sun was finally up, burning off the mist, but you could feel a storm brewing under the surface. A few weeks before all this, my life had been a different kind of mess, divorced, corporate burnout. And all I wanted was distance. The realtor, Jenny, had said, HOA covers the whole subdivision, but the pond area has special arrangements. Red flag, right? But I was just tired, wanted peace. For 2 weeks, I got it. Fishing in the evenings, coffee by the pond in the mornings, neighbors waved but kept their distance. My kind of heaven. Then, one Saturday, I woke up to boat motors. Outside, 2 guys out there fishing, waving like they own the place. Morning. Community fishing, one said. Victoria handles the rules, $15 a month. Turns out, 25 families had been paying to fish on my pond. That night, the insurance adjuster in me kicked in. I started pulling deeds, checking covenants, circling that navigation rights line. Called the closing attorney's office. Secretary said research would be $200 an hour. So, I went to the county recorder myself. Victoria came back a few days later, all business casual and friendly, laying out years of community investments, $8,000 in improvements, fish stocking, dock repairs. She slid over a contract supposedly signed by the previous owner, Jameson, but the signatures didn't match the pages. Classic orphan signature move. The agreement transfers with property, she said, but I hadn't agreed to any of it. After she left, my neighbor Roy showed up. Retired teacher, knew everyone. Victoria's fair, keeps things running. Last guy, Jameson, never fit in, always griped about the arrangement. Ended up moving to Florida. Roy's message was clear: play along or you're out. I started feeling like maybe I was the jerk. $15 a month, kids learn to fish, pond gets maintained. But that navigation rights line wouldn't leave me alone. So I hit the county. Archives, 1891 survey said the pond was public water. 1962 documents showed private. 1995 HOA papers ignored all of it. The clerk frowned. You're the first person to look at these in a decade. It's a legal mess. I put up a sign. Nothing aggressive, just private property, fishing by permission. Immediately got calls. Roy thought it was unfriendly. Sarah's kids wondered why they couldn't fish. The pressure was on, and Victoria called to remind me. That's not how we do things here. She said people were questioning whether Pine Ridge was the right fit for them. The social isolation came fast. Neighbors avoided me. Kids stopped waving. Contractors got busy. I felt like the villain in a Hallmark movie. I tracked down Jameson in Florida. Oh no, Victoria's still running her scam. He'd spent thousands on lawyers, lost 20 grand on the house, finally gave up and moved. His advice: expect Victoria to pass a special assessment just for me, $300 a month. Outvoted 25-1. He fought and lost. My only play left was that navigation rights clause. Back to the university library. Turns out, the pond's public fishing rights were never revoked. The state had stocked it for decades. If that was true, Victoria's fees were illegal. Victoria hit back with a certified letter, $300 monthly compliance fee. Community vote in 48 hours. I scrambled to the state environmental agency. They confirmed, public access rights still in force. Got a lawyer, Susan, who said, if that's true, HOA can't charge a dime. At the HOA meeting, I presented the documents. Victoria screamed about property values and community traditions. She got the vote anyway, 20-8, assessment passed. But here's the twist: by ignoring the documents, she'd just put the HOA in direct violation of federal law. I called the Army Corps of Engineers. Turns out, the pond connected to a river system, federal jurisdiction under the Clean Water Act. Commercial use without a permit? Big no-no. The feds responded fast, authorized me to enforce compliance, post signs, document violations. Next community event, I locked it down with federal warnings, cameras, and barriers. Victoria arrived, furious, tried to call the police. Officer Walsh showed up, but dispatch told him to defer to the feds. You should have seen Victoria's face when Officer Walsh said, "Ma'am, this is a federal matter." She lost it. But the families left, food trucks drove off, and Victoria's kingdom fell apart right there by the water. The fallout was epic. Victoria tried to rally the neighborhood, claimed outsiders were ruining everything. But once the costs of federal compliance came out, over $11,000 up front, with more every year, the community voted to end the fees, let the pond go back to public use, and elect a new board. Victoria quit on the spot, put her house up for sale below market, and skipped town. Suddenly, property values went up. Turns out, buyers like transparency and legal compliance more than expensive management fees. Jameson in Florida called to thank me. I wish I'd known the federal angle, he said. You saved that whole place. Even the county started training folks on federal water rights, so this wouldn't happen again. My lawyer, Susan, and I, well, let's just say all those late nights researching property law turned into something more. We got married at Miller's Pond, with the right permits, of course. Now I teach workshops on federal law, and Pine Ridge is the poster child for doing things right. So, was I too harsh bringing in the feds, or did Victoria get exactly what she deserved? Honestly, I think she earned every bit of it. Sometimes, the only way to stop a bully is to know the rules better than they do. What do you think? Was I in the right, or did I go too far? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's hear your take on justice and what you'd have done if it were your pond.